Howdy. This is the Views from the Shop podcast. I'm your host, your one and only host, Tim Miller. And today it is Friday, February 20th, 2026. And I wish you a very, very, very happy Women in Blue Jeans Day. Today's show previews a big one for Ohio State. The Buckeyes going to take on the Spartans of Michigan State up in East Lansing on Sunday. Today, we will break down the game in its entirety, a complete game breakdown, some highlights thrown in here if you're watching on YouTube, and a whole bunch more. So we'll break down this game. We also got to do some Ohio State bubble talk, so we'll do that as well. Now, if you're new here, please subscribe. Wherever you get your podcast, subscribe on YouTube. Our goal is to get to 300 subscribers. It's a small number. I know that, but it's an important number. Let's get to 300 subscribers before March Madness begins. Like the video on YouTube as well. That helps a bunch. You may think it doesn't matter. It does. Make a difference today. And subscribe on YouTube. Like the video as well. Look, I know. I look at the numbers. Over the half the people who watch these videos are not subscribed. We got to do better than that. I believe in you. So let's do that. Also, highly recommend you make it to the Substack, Views from the Shop podcast.substack.com. A whole lot of great content there. I preview every single game in written form. I also do an article called The Shot Sheet every once in a while that gives kind of news and notes and tidbits and things like that. You can go to notes as well. That's essentially your push notifications that can get sent straight to your phone, let you know when a pod is ready, let you know any injury news, and a whole lot of other things like that. Yesterday, posted an article on the Substack, said Ohio State basketball bracketology, historical trends, and the surefire path to March. That's a really, really good read. It's gotten a lot of good feedback, so highly, highly recommend you get there. Follow on the socials. You get the deal. We got a huge stack of papers here. It's ginormous. I don't know if we printed everything twice or if I just did that much for this show. I don't know. But we got to get into it. We got to have some fun here today. It's dangerous. Right now, I am in the midst of a tornado watch. Not warning, but a watch, which some would say is even scarier than a warning because there's so much unknown within it and lasts for so long. So tornado watched, we are here on the Views from the Shop podcast. We move along as we get ready for an Ohio State and Michigan State preview. Thanks so much for being here. Look, the first thing I want to do is I want to talk about where Ohio State stands right now in terms of the bubble. Now, the article I posted yesterday will get a lot of insight into this, but I just took a screenshot from what Bart Torvik says are the major bubble teams right now. You can look at Bracket Matrix. You can look at Bart Torvik. There's so many different sources and resources that we have to take a look at where teams are in terms of the bubble right now. Ohio State is in the thick of it, okay? I posted an article yesterday. We have to know, and this is just college basketball, the industry misleading fans at this point. Ranked wins mean nothing, nada, zilch, zero to your viability of being in the NCAA tournament in the first place. It means nothing to your seeding. AP poll ranked wins mean nothing. You can argue with the wall. The NCAA says it itself when it talks about a team sheet. Team sheet is what is shown on Selection Sunday as the committee goes through teams and it seeds them, it selects them, all those different types of things. Ranked wins, AP poll ranked wins are not included. What is included? It's net. It's quad 1 wins. It's quad 3 and 4 losses, your key wins, your bad losses, the predictive metrics, and a whole lot of other things. And you'll see here, according to Bart Torvik, right now, Ohio State first 4 out territory and not the worst team whatsoever when it comes to their overall team sheet metrics. So this is going to be a big game for Ohio State. This is going to be, if it is a win for Ohio State, easily the best win that Ohio State picks up this season. It will be a quad 1 win for eternity. No matter what happens, the Buckeyes will get a quad 1 win if they can beat Michigan State in this one. So it's a big one for Ohio State. Let's get into a background on Michigan State, and we get into previewing this game. Again, Ohio State on the bubble. A lot of people may say, hey, I don't think Ohio State's going to make the NCAA tournament. They're not on the bubble. Folks, that's not what the bubble means. Ohio State was firmly off the bubble after they lost to Virginia? No, also not true. our feelings cannot dictate what the truth of the bubble is. And the truth of the bubble is that Ohio State is as bubblicious as it has ever been. This Michigan State game, though, could catapult them into the NCAA tournament at least for a weekend, and then we see where things go from there. So, Michigan State right now sitting at 21-5 in the overall and 11-4 in the Big Ten. Now we know what happened the last time Ohio State visited the Spartans of Michigan State. Do I have? I'm a failure. I did not even download the Dale Bonner shot. So I'm sorry. You don't get to see it on YouTube. Dale Bonner hit a three the last time Ohio State visited Michigan State in East Lansing, 2024. The Buckeyes win 60-57. That's the last time Ohio State played in East Lansing. So it's been a minute since that happened, but Michigan State very, very tough at home. So far this year, they're 13-2 at home. Only losses have come to Michigan and Duke, two teams right now leading the pack in college basketball for a number one seed. Michigan kind of streaking toward the number one overall seed at this point. So Michigan State very, very good at home. A win in East Lansing, very, very hard to come by. Michigan State's record of 21-5, very impressive given the non-conference that it's gone through. They've got wins in the SEC over Kentucky and Arkansas. The Arkansas win, I think, just the second game of the season for Michigan State. They've also ripped off 7 straight victories in Big Ten play. Before that, they beat Duke, lost to North Carolina in the ACC. So they're taking on some tough foes in the out-of-conference play. Once they get into Big Ten play, they get a bunch of wins, 7 in a row, like I said. Wins over Indiana and USC during that stretch, some other not so impressive wins, but regardless, it's Big Ten. Winning 7 games in a row is no doubt a big deal. On top of that, Michigan State, 21st in the net, 10th in KenPom, 16th in Bart Torvik. So there's some disagreement in the predictive analytics, especially on where Michigan State stands right now. Over their past of their 5 losses, 3 of them have come since January 30th. They fell to Michigan. They also lost at Minnesota. Not a great loss there. They were crushed at Wisconsin over the last weekend. And then they exercised some demons, unfortunately, at the hands of Mick Crybaby Cronin. UCLA really, they got their butts handed to them against Michigan State this week. The same night, Ohio State beat Wisconsin and really thumped Wisconsin. Michigan State was thumping UCLA. Obviously, you probably know the Jeremy Fears Jr. drama at this point. We will talk about him for sure. Gets a little bit of that Grayson Allen energy to him, but incredible player for Michigan State nonetheless. Tom Izzo leading another exceptional season, and East Lansing got the Spartans rolling right now. Now, recently, again, 3 of 5 losses have come since January 30th, still having a phenomenal season. So let's talk about the Michigan State offense. I need a sip real quick. I'm just overall kind of warm right now. Maybe it's because I've been watched about a tornado. Not warned, but watched. We are tornado watched still. I think until about 10 p.m. So give it a few minutes here. All right, the offense on Michigan State, 78.9 points per game so far this season for the Spartans. They're shooting at 46.8% from the field, 35.4% from the three-point line, and they're number 40 in adjusted offensive efficiency so far this year. It's hard to have that good of a record and be that relatively low in adjusted offensive efficiency. That number comes from KenPom. So if that's where they stand when it comes to their adjusted offensive efficiency, you may think, is their defense that good? Answer, yes. Spoiler alert, should have said beforehand. So, look, there's a lot of different directions that you can go in here when it comes to Michigan State's offense. I think we just start with kind of their top 4 players. And of those top 4 players, you start with Jeremy Fears Jr. I think that, honestly, we can go in a spot here with Jeremy Fears Jr. where we can say, look, this is a player who, again, he has the tendency of maybe not being the most clean player in college basketball, but he tries hard, and I believe he has a good heart, potentially, under some questionable motives. But you talk about Jeremy Fears Jr., you talk about Cohen Carr, you talk about Jackson Kohler, Carson Cooper. You know all those players. If you're watching the show, I trust that you know all of those players. And if that's the case, then I think we start with Michigan State. A lot of times we go, their style, what are they best at? How do they play offensively? I just start with the players here for Michigan State. And that begins with Jeremy Fears Jr. He's the number one player in the NCAA and assists per game at 9.3. You may think Braden Smith is the best assister in the nation, an assister in the Big Ten. It's actually Jeremy Fears Jr. 9.3 assists per game. He's averaging 15.1 points per game on the season. Let's get some highlights of Jeremy Fears, shall we? Averaging 15.1 points per game on the season, 43% from the field. He's not really going to be known for his shooting ability necessarily, only making 28% of his shots from the three-point line so far this season, but he's excellent scoring inside, and he's excellent distributing the basketball. That's where Jeremy Fears is really, really good. You look at his abilities inside, 4% in the mid-range. He's also adding 5 paint points per game, which is, for a point guard, turnovers have been a bit of an issue. I think when it comes to a player like Jeremy Fears Jr., you probably look at him and you say, that's understandable because of how much he handles the basketball. But a 14.2% turnover rate is really not good at all for a point guard, but he's cleaned it up over the last 5. He's averaging under 2 turnovers per game, which still isn't great. However, he's 13th percentile in turnovers per game across the season. So it's been an issue. He's cleaned it up again a little bit over the past 5 games, but still something to look at. Regardless, Jeremy Fears Jr., he's a master facilitator. He'll use his ability to score inside as a threat and as an opportunity to kind of open up teammates for catch and shoot threes. And that's really a big part of his game. You've seen that even in the highlights here. He's produced, he's had spike games this year, 31 points in a loss to Michigan, 29 points in the game before that in a win against Rutgers, and 26 points just 3 games ago in a win over Illinois. But these stats, the double-double numbers, the points with the assists for Jeremy Fears Jr., absolutely incredible. He had 26 in against Illinois. He's had 10-plus assists in each of his last 4 games. He had 17 points and 17 assists against Maryland. That set a Michigan State record, single-game record for assists in a game, did Jeremy Fears Jr. So he is the facilitator of all facilitators for Michigan State and across the entire nation. Again, still averaging 15 points per game. I think a lot of Michigan State fans, one I've spoken to, would say he is the glue guy for Michigan State. When he's going, Michigan State is very, very good. So he's the first player to keep an eye on. Another player to keep an eye on, it's Jackson Kohler. Kohler, I mean, he's a player who I would probably argue could be a bit of a glue guy for Michigan State as well. Not averaging as many points per game as Jeremy Fears Jr. is at 12.4 points per game, 1.2 assists per game, 9.4 rebounds per game, and he shoots it well also. 50% from the field, 41% from the three-point line. That's really, really good for a power forward. Look, I'm not an NBA novice. I've never argued that I am. I would say Jackson Kohler, though, does he have some Kevin Love in him? Does he have a similar build to Kevin Love? Maybe. Does he have a similar style of play to Kevin Love? I don't know. I think you could say that. Again, he hits shots from deep, catch and shoot, really, really good three-point shooter when he's in that catch and shoot zone for Michigan State. And he shows great rebounding chops as well. You see the 9.2 rebounds per game. I think on top of that, though, you look at his ability to just to rebound on both ends when it comes to the offensive glass and the defensive glass for Jackson Kohler. 96th percentile in defensive rebounding rate, and at the same time, He is 92nd percentile in offensive rebounding rate. He's also 76th percentile in three-point attempt rate. So he's a guy who can push the floor for Michigan State offensively. He can score off the dribble. He can create a little bit as a power forward, as that stretch four. But really, when he gets the opportunity to catch and shoot, he can splash threes for sure. Excellent free throw shooter as well. He just fights and he works. And again, I'd argue this is a bit of a glue guy for Michigan State in terms of what he's able to do as a floor spacer, as a rebounder, as a screener as well, a pick and popper. All those types of things are things that he can do. Now, for Jackson Kohler, his scoring, it has dropped as you look at kind of the first half of the season to the second half of the season. Kohler's scoring has dropped a little bit, but again, as an outside observer, as a not Michigan State expert by any regard, that's a really important player for Michigan State. He's a guy to keep your eye on here for the Spartans. I think we've got to talk about Cohen Carr as well for Michigan State. Look, the term human highlight reel, it is more than overused, I think, when it comes to any player in college basketball, and probably none more so than for Cohen Carr. But this guy can throw it down with anyone. He can dunk on anyone. He can rise up. The highlight reel dunks that he brings at Michigan State, it's absolutely incredible. It's overused. It's cliche, but unfortunately, there's not a more true saying when it comes to Cohen Carr's ability. That athleticism is really, really impressive for Michigan State. Here's the thing, though. He's shooting at 28.6% from deep, is Cohen Carr so far this season. Pretty low three-point attempt rate as well at 25.3% three-point attempt rate. You'll see some teams, they love to sag off on Cohen Carr, knowing that he wants to drive, knowing that he wants to rim. They will drive to the rim. They will sag off and they'll dare him to shoot the three ball. But man, when he has the ability to get out in space, to get out and run the floor, he's very, very special. He's going to be a guy that Ohio State absolutely has to keep an eye out when it comes to running in transition. He has one game with 3 3-pointers made so far this year. So not a lot of great 3-point production from Cohen Carr so far this season. But again, super, super effective at the rim. That's where he's at his best. 77% field goal percentage for Cohen Carr so far this season when he is at the rim. That's among the best in the nation, not just for non-centers, but even if you want to throw centers in there as well. 77% is very, very good for Cohen Carr. Obviously, he loves to get to the rim and be that high flyer, but his paint scoring as well. Even when he's not dunking, he's scoring 6.6 paint points per game. That's really, really good for Michigan State. The athleticism lends to transition scoring. He's scoring four fast break points per game. That's 100th percentile in college ball so far this year. Again, he wants to get out. He wants to run. The Buckeyes are going to have to run with them. He's got double-digit scoring in 7 of his last 8 games for Michigan State. So the scoring starting to come on here for Cohen Carr. This is going to be another guy to watch for Ohio State. Do you put Devin Royal on Cohen Carr? Do you throw Devin Royal maybe undersized, but do you put him on a Jackson Kohler as their play styles are a little bit more similar? And do you try to let Amari Bynum guard Cohen Carr? I don't know. I don't know what Ohio State is going to do here to try to contain him, but it's going to be a bit of a mismatch. It's going to be a match of nightmare when it comes to Ohio State. They're going to have to do their best here to take care of Cohen Carr. And the last player that I'll talk about here for Michigan State, it is Carson Cooper. Carson Cooper, so far this season, he's been the lowest scorer for Michigan State, but does not mean that he's not been a good player whatsoever for Michigan State. The graphic, the one's cut off. He's averaging 10 points per game so far this season for Michigan State. Still 1.3 assists per game. That's really good for a center. 7.2 rebounds per game, shooting at 56% from the field, and also averaging a block per game on the defensive end. We'll talk more about their defense here in a little bit. He's a stretcher like Kohler is from the 3-point line. He's more of your traditional big-bodied center, but he's efficient inside for sure. Not really a player that you can complain about in terms of his overall ability to score inside. When you talk about Carson Cooper, he's played really well for the month of January, especially. He's cooled off a little bit recently, but he scored 12 against UCLA. So a nice little scoring productive day there from Carson Cooper. Look, those are the four guys that I'm looking at when it comes to Michigan State offensively. Players are all names that you know. They're probably all names that you are familiar with. And you're looking at a Michigan State team overall that's led by those top four players. Now, how do they win? How do they score? How do they play? That's what we can talk about now for Michigan State. Now, again, they crushed UCLA, and that was a really impressive game. I think what you saw in that UCLA game is what you see from Michigan State overall offensively for the Spartans so far this year. They present a very specific style in that there's some things that they are absolutely elite in, more elite than sometimes anyone in the entire nation so far this year. Now, as you can imagine, with Jeremy Fears Jr., excellent assist rate. They do a great job scoring off assists. And again, you'll see this over and over and over as you watch highlights for Michigan State's win over UCLA. They did a phenomenal job passing the ball, distributing. They've got a 67.4% assist rate so far this year. That's very, very good. That's number 2 in all of college basketball. Now, with Jeremy Fears on the floor, they have a 68.1% assist rate. With Jeremy Fears off the floor, they've still got an excellent, elite 64.6% assist rate. So it's not just Jeremy Fears who's doing all the assisting. We now have 2 active special weather statements and a severe thunderstorm warning. I believe the National Weather Service is important. Sometimes they need to be less important. We need to relax, National Weather Service. It's way too much. It's way too much. You freak people out when you do that, and then people don't pay attention to the warnings that you actually give that are important. I'm warning you about Michigan State's offense right now, though. A lot of spacing for Michigan State. You look at, again, we talked about Kohler, his ability to space the floor. They do a great job of driving, and that creates catch and shoot opportunities. Drive and slash opportunities as well with the spacing. That's what Michigan State does really, really well. It's a beautiful brand of basketball. The spacing helps. You look at Kohler, you look at Cooper there, the big men for Michigan State. They both average over an assist per game. So it's not just the guards, it's the big men who are making it happen, who are playmaking for Michigan State. That's been really helpful for them overall. You also look at their fast break scoring. That's a place where Michigan State has been really, really good so far this season. They're 6th in the nation with 17 fast break points per game. Again, so much of that is Cohen Carr running in fast break opportunities, but also Jeremy Fears Jr. He's averaging the same amount of points as Cohen Carr is in the fast break this year at 4 fast break points per game. So both of those guys will score in fast break. Kohler, Cooper, they do a great job running the floor as well. You look at Kurt Tang coming off the bench. He can produce as well. Look, Ohio State's defense, though, as we look at them, they're 23rd in fast break points allowed so far this season is the Buckeyes defense. Of the teams that they've played so far this season, they've done a really, really solid job of stopping teams who are really, really good in the fast break. If you look at against Michigan this year, Michigan, among Power 5 teams, 16th in the nation among Power 5 teams in fast break scoring. Michigan scored 10 and 12 against Ohio State. It's not great, but it's not horrible. Against North Carolina, Tar Heels, 32nd in fast break scoring among Power 5 teams so far this year. The Tar Heels scored 10. That's not great. Northwestern, next best Power 5 team that Ohio State has played this year in fast break scoring. Wildcats only scored 7. Penn State is right after Northwestern. They only scored 4 against Ohio State. And Wisconsin, in the last game against the Buckeyes, scored just 5 fast break points. They're 38th in fast break scoring among Power 5 teams this year. They did score 14, though, in the win that the Badgers had against the Buckeyes on January 31st. So that's a place where we're going to be butting heads. We're going to see 2 styles that are really, really strong. Ohio State, they're going to have to run with Michigan State in this game. The Buckeyes are going to have to be good. They're going to have to get back. They're going to have to show that effort. Christoph Tilley is going to have to get back. Amari Bynum is going to have to get back. They're going to have to chase those guys, the big men at Michigan State. Devin Royal's going to have to get back, which means you probably need to get Devin Royal going early, because when you get him going early, that's when he plays really well. If Devin Royal does not get going early, he just doesn't seem to be able to lock it in. So that's something to keep an eye on as well for Ohio State in this one. Now, as we continue to talk about Michigan State, where else are they good offensively? The last thing we'll talk about is also the last thing Ohio State fans want to hear, which is they are elite on the offensive glass. Sparty, so far this season, 6th in the nation in offensive rebounding rate. You look at Kohler, you look at Cooper, you look at Carr, you look at Cameron Ward, Jordan Scott. All of those players average at least 1.4 offensive rebounds per game. That is absolutely exceptional team performance, offensive rebounding. Ohio State, on the flip side, the Buckeyes have fallen to 43rd percentile in defensive rebounding rate so far this year. That's just not good enough, especially in Big Ten play. And then you want to talk about Ohio State's defensive rebounding in Big Ten play. 13th percentile throughout Big Ten play so far this year in defensive rebounding rate. That is absolutely horrible for the Buckeyes. They're missing Brandon Knoll. They're missing good rebounding production from Christoph Tilley. They need more from Devin Royal, Amari Bynum at this point, because really the most rebounding you're getting, I mean, your leading rebounders on the team are your 6'2" guard and your small forward. Doesn't really get the job done for Ohio State. They're allowing 13.3 second chance points per game. That is 16th in the Big Ten. And on the flip side, Michigan State is scoring the 31st most amount of points in the nation in second chance opportunities so far this season. So that's a place Ohio State is going to have to be good defensively. They're going to have to be prepared in this one for Michigan State's ability to get after it on the offensive glass and score in second chance opportunities. Now, defensively for Michigan State, you would not believe it. You literally would not believe it. How long have I been recording? Less than a half hour. I've gotten a new special weather statement 3 times now and 2 separate severe thunderstorm warnings. We get the point, Wilmington. Relax. Michigan State's defense allowing 66.4 points per game so far this year. Teams are shooting at 39.6% from the field, 31.4% from the three-point line, and they are 6th in the nation in adjusted offensive efficiency. Ohio State on Sunday will be facing one of the best defenses in the nation and one of the best defenses that it has played all year long. You look at the defensive rebounding for Michigan State. It is better than it is offensive rebounding, not by much, but that's because its offensive rebounding numbers can't get much better. So the defensive are elite. Only one team has a better defensive rebounding rate so far this year than Michigan State across college basketball. They're averaging 28.1 defensive rebounds per game. That's Kohler, that's Cooper, that's Carr again leading the way. You would expect. It helps them allow a very tiny amount of paint paint points. 7.3 paint points allowed per game. That is number 1 in the nation. We know what Ohio State likes to do. We know what Ohio State likes to do offensively. You know what? I think that's wrong. 7.3 second chance points per game. Can we give me a second here to figure out where that number comes? Okay. They're allowing 7.3 paint points per game. Sorry, second chance points per game. I sound like an idiot right now. But we're not cutting this up and taking it out. We don't do that. That's number 1 in the nation. Now, their paint points per game. Second chance points, number 1, offensively. Their paint points per game, 8th in college basketball so far this year. Defensively, teams are shooting below 60% at the rim and barely over 40% in the paint so far this year. Both those numbers fall below NCAA average, so the defense really, really good there. The number 26 in average height. They're 16th in block rate. This is what happens, by the way, when you have stalwarts at the 4 and the 5 and a freak of nature playing at the 3. This is where Ohio State wants to score. When you look at the Buckeyes right now, this is a team, you look at a Devin Royal, for example, you look at Bruce Thornton, you look at Christoph Tilley. There's so many different players who want to get after it in the paint for Ohio State. They're 83rd percentile in paint points per game so far this year. That does not touch Michigan State's 8th best number defensively. But, I mean, you look at players like a Bruce Thornton. You look at players like a Tayson Chapman, even, who can get in. We are being tornado warned. I am being tornado warned right now. I'm going to pause this and make sure that we're all good, okay? I got a wife asleep downstairs. Might have to take a cat and a dog downstairs to the basement. Love you. I'll see you in just a second. You won't even know that I'm gone, okay? Pause it real quick. Well, the National Weather Service has outdone themselves. We thank them for their service, and we thank them for being warned of a tornado. We were not in the path. Or in the county that was in the path. We were not in the path, so we're fine here. So we continue along. I have no idea where I was on this. As I look at my notes here, I think we were talking about Michigan State's paint defense, how good Ohio State needs to be, how much they want to score in the paint. Bruce Thornton, Kristoff Tilly, Amari Bynum, especially without John Mobley Jr. That's going to be emphasized for Ohio State. So we'll see what the Buckeyes can do in the paint in this one. That will be very, very important for them. Outside of that, Michigan State on the defensive side, they pretty much shut down everyone that they've played to this point. Wisconsin did shoot 48% from the field against Michigan State. They scored 92 points. Not sure that you can really trust that Ohio State is going to get Michigan State on that bad of a day, especially given Michigan State will be at home. I don't know. Is Ohio State going to be lucky enough to put out the offensive effort that Wisconsin did? Maybe not. However, Ohio State did just beat Wisconsin. So there is that. Illinois shot 37% against Michigan State. Michigan, a rather unastounding 44% from the field, still won that game. Did Michigan? IU only shot 43% and scored just 60 points against Michigan State. The other defensive note here for the Spartans, they will accept the three-pointer attempted against them. A 46.5% three-point attempt rate is really, really high. However, teams, again, only shooting 31.4% from the three-point line. Look, Ohio State, they're coming off their best three-point shooting performance of the season. But even with that, I mean, do you expect the Buckeyes to do that against one of the best defenses in the nation? Do you expect them to do that without John Mobley Jr. in this one? They didn't last game without John Mobley Jr., but a second game in a row doing that, I find it hard to fathom that that's something that Ohio State can do. So we'll see what the Buckeyes can do in this one from the three-point line. Sounds like Michigan State, they might allow the Buckeyes to take them. We'll see if the Buckeyes can make them. Now, keys to the game. In order for Ohio State to win this game, I've got two keys for Ohio State. There's one thing that the Buckeyes really emphasize offensively coming into this season. It's not been great, but it is something that they focused on, and that is scoring off assists. Ohio State really wants to find good, clean, open looks when it comes to their ability to shoot it and score off of good, clean, open looks, good ball movement, things like that. That's what Ohio State wants to do. They haven't done it that great this year. However, in wins, they have a 55.7% assist rate. In losses, 44.7% assist rate. That is absolutely horrid. Ohio State has got to move the basketball. They've got to find catch and shoot opportunities. They've got to find catch and drive opportunities. They've got to find kick out opportunities. They want their paint touch threes. That's a big phrase that they'll use as well. That's something Ohio State is going to have to find in this game. You find better shots when you score off assists. Against a defense that is this good, you must create quality shots, open catch and shoot, open catch and drive. That's what the Buckeyes are going to have to do in this one offensively. Because, again, Michigan State's so good rebounding the basketball, you're not going to get a lot of opportunities in this one. Ohio State, on the offensive glass, on the defensive glass, you're going to have to make the most of your attempts from the field. So we'll see if the Buckeyes can do that in this one. The other thing, they've got to disrupt Michigan State's overall flow offensively. And that sounds pretty easy to do on paper, sounds pretty easy to say, not that thought-provoking. What I mean by that, Michigan State, they love to score in transition. They love to move the ball, make field goals off assists. For Ohio State defensively, they've shown an ability to do that from time to time this season as Ohio State. So can you show the ability to force turnovers? Can you get them uncomfortable? Can you use that 2-3 zone potentially to get them out of sorts? Can you pick off a pass or two, or even just swat a pass defensively as Michigan State is moving down the court in the fast break in transition to just reset them? Even if the ball goes out of bounds, even if you don't force a turnover, if you can just reset them and get them into the half court, I think that really helps Ohio State. Michigan State wants to move the ball. They get a lot of assists in transition. They score a lot in transition. The Buckeyes are going to have to get back. They're going to have to keep their heads up, keep their heads on a swivel. And if you can just get Michigan State out of that from time to time, possession to possession, stretch to stretch for 2 minutes at a time in a game, I think Ohio State will have a good chance to be in it here toward the end of the game in this one. Now, look, when it comes to my prediction in this one, Ohio State is in a really important spot right now, where if they pick up this game, it's a quad 1 win. It's a quad 1A win. It will forever be a quad 1 win for Ohio State, given it's a road game. You look at the West Virginia game, they're 4 spots out of being a quad 1 win for Ohio State. Northwestern, as we're recording, 2 spots out from being a quad 1 win for Ohio State. How about you get a win that you don't have to worry about? Will it be a quad 1 win? Wisconsin, same way. 3 or 4 spots out from being a quad 1 win right now? There are games right now, Ohio State is one that is so close to being quad 1. This one doesn't have to be that. So that's why this game is so important for Ohio State. When I post the health resume index for Ohio State in the game against Michigan State, that just shows how big of a game is this, how big of an opportunity is this for Ohio State. This is going to go not into your clinching an NCAA tournament spot with the win, but the section right before that, it's going to be right there. This is going to be a huge win if Ohio State can pick it up and get it done here against the Spartans. What does the bit say about this game? Well, the bit favors Michigan State at home by 8.5 points. It sets the total at 144.5. Look, Ohio State's about to go play the best rebounding team in the nation. The volume wouldn't say that, but the rate of rebounding does, both on the offensive glass and the defensive glass. There's not a better cumulative rebounding team in college basketball than Michigan State this year. Michigan State is number 6 in offensive rebounding rate in the nation. Ohio State on the defensive glass, 208. Michigan State on the defensive glass, they have the second best defensive rebounding rate in the nation. The Buckeyes are at 115 in offensive rebounding rate. You look at Kristaps Tilley's play for Ohio State. It's been up and down. We saw in the last game, very early against Wisconsin, Jake Diebler pulls him off the floor, and he appeared to say, you've got to play tougher. You look at Ivan Nagovin, you've had some good minutes from him. You've had some bad minutes from him. It's been inconsistent. You look at Amari Bynum, he's gotten times this year, doesn't show the best hands in the paint. That's something that's been a frustration. Devin Royal, your 3, he rebounds for you. Bruce Thornton, your point guard, he rebounds for you. Outside of that, who is going to take care of Michigan State on the glass in this game? I don't have any confidence that Ohio State is going to make enough shots in this game, given how good Michigan State is defensively, given how they defend. Now, look, if Ohio State was a good 3-point shooting team, if they were an effective 3-point shooting team, I would say, you know what? I think Ohio State's blend of offense could beat Michigan State's blend of defense because the Spartans allowed the 3-point shot. But I don't see that in this game. I think where Ohio State is good, Michigan State is better. I think this is a nightmare matchup for Ohio State, quite honestly. And I don't think Ohio State makes enough shots in this game to make up for them being -11 on the glass or -8 on the glass. Now, I could be wrong. I picked Ohio State to lose Wisconsin. I was dead wrong on that. I think this matchup is very, very tough for Ohio State. And for that reason, I will take Michigan State to win this game. 8.5-point spread, that feels like a lot, but I could see this game getting out of hand. I could. I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just saying that's how I see this game. And that doesn't mean that Ohio State's off the bubble again if they lose this game. It doesn't mean they're not going to the NCAA tournament if they lose this game. It's just a part of the process. Every game is a part of the process at this point. All right. It's pouring outside. We have been flash floodily warned. Not just warned on tornadoes now. We got the flash flood warnings. We got a couple more thunderstorms coming in the area here later on tonight. So I hope you have some let's hope I stay safe. You can get this published for you. And warning, if you make it this far and you're still on YouTube, right? I did this show during a tornado warning, folks, and a 5-star review on the podcast platforms. That wouldn't hurt. It would hurt the nut house.